There's a large group of Star Wars fans complaining about The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2. But I think you are all insane, and this episode is incredible. And I'm going to tell you why. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button and let's get right into this video. And I do want to say right off the bat, spoiler warning for The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode number 2. So if you haven't seen it, get on out of here. And by the way, just so you guys know, this isn't like a review or necessarily a breakdown of the video. It's literally just a video kind of like in defense of this episode. And I want to break down some important things. But if you are interested in getting that sort of reaction breakdown stuff, we do a lot of that on the live streaming channel. So earlier this morning at like 4 a.m. I went live with executive producer Al Schuler. We talked about this episode. So check that out and go over to the live streaming channel for that kind of content. Okay, so the place I want to start here is this idea of calling this episode a filler episode. This was something I saw a lot of different people while we were doing the watch party or talking about it online afterwards or coming into the stream later. A lot of people called this episode filler. And I highly disagree with the labeling of this episode as filler. I mean, for one, this episode picks up literally right where we left off in last episode. And number two, the Mandalorian is essentially doing the same thing he was doing in the first episode. He is continuing his quest to try to find other Mandalorians. Now, this takes him to a different planet, and he, of course, has to ferry this passenger, the lizard lady, in order to get the intel to find this new Mandalorian coven. But it is not filler in the sense that, oh, this story arc is done, we're waiting on the next story arc, and so there's going to be this kind of offshoot story that doesn't really have a lot of impact on the main story. That is how I would properly define filler. And I think when most people are saying that it's filler, what they're really saying is Boba didn't come out in that first scene and help the Mandalorian and join up with him and then become best friends and fly around the galaxy and slave one. And yeah, that didn't happen. And yeah, I was totally hoping that it would happen, but, and this is very important, the thread of Boba Fett is not dropped completely. Now let's pause for just a second and talk about Season 1, because a lot of people are bringing up that this is very similar to some of the episodes in Season 1, and Season 1 did have these filler type episodes where, although the plot was loosely the same in where Din Djarin is just trying to protect the child and get more money so that he can continue to protect the child, we kind of do have these totally offshoot little missions that have nothing to do with any overarching story or plot. And the most notable for me on these was both episode 5 and episode 6, which really are like standalone episodes. They don't seem to tie into a much bigger plot. And I think Season 1 is much more filler-like those episodes are much more like filler episodes. And I want to really draw this comparison because I think episode 2 shows us an evolution of The Mandalorian as a show and what it's trying to accomplish. Because yes, this is a different episode than episode 1. It tonally shifts. It's more focused on Baby Yoda. It's got this kind of side quest mission you could talk about where he's kind of crashing and it's like, oh no, now he's got him into this kind of situation. How's he going to get out of this situation? But I just want to say that this is so not filler. I think a lot of things from this episode are going to become important later on, and this episode does a great job of making other seemingly unimportant things show up again and be important. And strangely enough, a lot of those things that show up again in this episode and become important are from episodes in Season 1, like 5 and 6, that you would think and that I thought were filler episodes. By having Din Djarin lose his speeder in the desert right after a scene in which we knew Boba Fett was watching him, and to have Din Djarin walk into Mos Eisley, walk through the desert to Mos Eisley, that is an important plot thread because it allows Boba Fett to now linger over everything we see moving forward, because he clearly could have caught up to him, he could have tracked him into Mos Eisley, he could have figured out where Din Djarin is going, and he could have followed him. So literally for the rest of the season, it is possible that Boba Fett could pop up at any moment, and that lingering is super exciting and the furthest thing from just filler flavor of the week episode. And so it's like, I get where Star Wars fans are at with this because they're like, look, man, this is just not what I wanted. Like this took a step back from for me in the pacing, etc., etc. And it's like, I get you, but I think what The Mandalorian as a show is trying to show us is that, like, this is the formula. It's still Din and the baby, right? It's still this adventure. It's still this flavor of the week Star Wars show. And although it's tightening up a lot of the things that I wasn't crazy about in season 1, it is still its own show. And it's not just going to become Avengers Endgame, where like Boba comes in, they slap hands, they start going through time holes or whatever craziness people are imagining the show could end up being like. No, it's going to more or less still be The Mandalorian and spin out some interesting things into this wider universe. Boba Fett is coming. Ahsoka is coming. Ezra Bridger is coming. A lot of these incredible things that we've been talking about for the Filoni Verse are getting more and more proven each day, and they will be coming. In fact, I'm going to do a whole separate video on this, but one of the Hollywood trades just confirmed that Boba Fett is getting a spin-off show, and it's actually going into production before The Mandalorian Season 3 even goes into production. Again, something we've been talking about for 9 months. The Filoni Verse is real. Now, I want to talk about a couple things that I really just loved in the episode, but number one, it had all of the basic things that I love about Star Wars, and it had them in an incredible visual way. The episode had a great space battle with the X-Wings and the crest flying through the clouds, and even though it's just those 3 ships, the maneuvering, the action, the setup, all of that was great. Din's flying was impeccable. That little reverse back-in slide into the cave with the thrusters was great. I loved it. It has great action. The action sequence at the beginning was awesome. A lot of really cool stuff going on in there. I thought the sequence with the jetpack was incredible. Very, very funny stuff. Again, you know, walking that line of like laughing with the episode and not laughing at the episode, right? Like good Star Wars humor, which is so important and different than what we got in the sequel trilogy for the most part. There are great callbacks to all sorts of great Star Wars lore, just all sorts of stuff. It's almost too much to mention. There's stuff from Star Wars Rebels in here with the little spiders. There's stuff from A New Hope with the thorax type creature. There's stuff from an animated episode with Lando Calrissian from the freaking Clone Wars in this episode. I mean, it's dripping wet with all of the Star Wars callbacks that we love, and it has what is considered to be the crown jewel of the show, and I think this episode in particular just shows us that, like, yeah, this is still where the juice is at for the show, and that would be, of course, Baby Yoda. Some of my all-time favorite Baby Yoda moments are in this episode. What a cute little bugger, just walking around doing his thing, being hilarious, and his evolution of a character is starting to be seen as well. But on top of having all the basics, all the stuff that I would look for in a Mandalorian episode, it had a couple of things that I thought were truly surprising. Number one, the lizard lady as a character. Now, what could be just dismissible as a gaff type character, a really just, you know, non-important character, ends up having an incredible amount of depth, like the way she rewires the droid to make the karaoke translator type thing. I thought that was incredible. The way she leaves and finds the hot water bath and the thing for her eggs, keeping them warm. Incredible. She's an incredible shot with that little blaster that she has. Like, that was absolutely nuts. And then when she's running, the way that she can like leap forward like that, like, this character was full of surprises. And I just thought it was like this little cherry on top for really great writing that, you know, it's sort of a gaff or a tropey type character that ends up having all of these surprises. And the other thing that surprised me, and I've sort of touched on this already, is just the tightness of the writing here with Jon Favreau. I really think we're just not speaking enough about how incredible his writing is, because again, this episode is showing you so much and tying so much from Din Djarin's journey in season 1 and showing the audience that, like, not only is Din on this arc where he's becoming more sure of himself, you know, he's just upping his skills, continuing to be a little bit more noble now, but the galaxy at large is starting to notice. I mean, the Republic is out there scanning for Imperials. They literally find him and they find out about some of his good deeds, right? And they literally like let him off the hook. That's incredible. And I just really wanted to focus on this because as opposed to the sequel trilogy, which, you know, look, I know we always talk about the sequel trilogy. You know, I'm constantly being, you know, on the negative side about the sequel trilogy, and I don't mean to beat that dead horse. But what I'm saying is, as opposed to when you have different writers and visionaries try to make sense of a trilogy by passing it off to each other like a baton, when you have someone like Jon that is creating a narrative and really focused on making this all make sense and diegetically and organically taking place, it's just super great. It's a high quality product. I'm so excited about the future of Star Wars, the future of this show, and all the things that we're going to get in the Filoni Verse, and with Jon Favreau helping us out as well. Like, this is just incredible. But that's just one man's opinion. I know that most people online right now are complaining about this episode. That's totally fine too. Hey, man, you're not going to love every episode. It's all good. If this is one of your least favorite episodes, I totally get it. To me, right now, Mandalorian is like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still good, and I didn't even think this episode was bad. But of course, let us know what you thought about this episode in the comments section below. And now let's shout out Rockstar Skateboy. Yes, indeed, it was Attack the Block that made John Boyega famous before Star Wars. Now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what is the name of the sabacc hand that the repair lady beats the ant guy with in this episode? If you like this video, make sure you like it. If you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you thinking? You gotta subscribe so you don't miss any videos. If you're enjoying the content over here, then you will absolutely love the live streams we do straight from Nerd Vengers Tower, Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.